Still to come, it's been billed as one of the most thrilling ice spectaculars you'll ever see. Robin Cousins talks about creating another skating extravaganza. And with music from the girl with the incredible voice and a top 10 debut album under her belt, Caro Emerald performs. But first, it's time to continue the search for Britain's next publishing sensation, the People's Novelists. Already this week, we've had 3 heats, met 12 would-be authors and sent 3 talented writers through to tomorrow's finals. At stake, the ultimate literary prize to have their book published by HarperCollins. The theme of today's final heat is the thriller. But before we meet the final 4 authors, let's meet our judges. It's our 380 bookworms. A welcome return to best-selling author Cathy Kelly, journalist, broadcaster and author herself Penny Smith, and today's guest judge is comedian, actor, screenwriter and international best-selling thriller writer whose new book, Good as Dead, is out right now, Mark Billingham. Simple question, Mark. You'll know the answer. What makes a good thriller?
I want pace, great setting. You want to turn those pages, but your heart's in your mouth at the same time. There's a huge range of thrillers. They can be historical, they can be serial killers, they can be psychological. But as long as those things are there, that's
you a little bit scared.
A little bit scared. Yeah.
Right. Let's meet our first author. Please welcome Eva Hudson from Sussex. So, how long have you written for?
I've been writing seriously and actually getting down to it for about 3 years.
Right. And have you got a day job? A normal job?
I do. At the moment, I'm not working. I'm between contracts, but I'm normally a web project manager.
Right. And tell us what your book's called.
It's The Loyal Servant.
The Loyal Servant, and it's about
what? It's a political thriller. It's about a civil servant who discovers the school's minister dead at his desk. Everyone thinks it's suicide. Caroline's convinced that it's not, that there's foul play. And so she starts digging and uncovers more than she bargained for. Oh, gosh, that's a nice in a nutshell, isn't it? Cathy, what did you make of The Loyal Servant?
I really enjoyed it, Eva. I thought, you know, it's a long time since I've read a political thriller, and I really got into it, and you could tell that you knew what you were talking about. I loved that, and I loved the journalists who come in a little bit way along. I think it's all set up very well. Lovely dialogue. I think, sorry, this sounds like I'm giving away the plot. I think, just one thing, when Caroline discovers the minister dead, because we later find out that she's involved with them, I think we just needed a little bit more, a different reaction, a bit more of a...
Right. Penny, did it keep you on the edge of your seat?
Well, it did. I thought it immediately draws you in. There was suspense right from the beginning. I didn't write one biro mark on the whole lot, which is... I know it's a bit, you know, ridiculous about my sort of obsession with grammar and correct spelling and all the rest of it. But it stops me reading when it's kind of... when maybe it hasn't been spell checked or whatever. And I thought it was really believable dialogue, and at the end I wanted to read the rest.
Oh, well, that's a good sign, Mark.
Well, as Cathy said, Eva clearly knows the world she's writing about, and that's really important. You know, if you're going to do that, you need to get it right. What I liked about the central characters is that we saw her private life as well. Yeah. You know, not just what she's going through at work, but we see her family and everything, so she becomes a very well-rounded character. If I had one slight worry, it's that have real events kind of overtaken you. You know, all politicians are double-dealing in their shenanigans. It's like, oh, really? But, you know, and great dialogue, which is really important.
Oh, that's good. Ladies and gentlemen, Eva Hudson. Well done, Eva. Author number 2 is David Roy from Preston. Welcome, David. Day job?
I'm a teacher.
A teacher, right. So this is what you do in your spare time when you get home?
Yeah, or whenever I get a moment, yeah.
When you get a moment. Title and plot?
The book's called The Lost Man, and it's about a character called Ted Dexter, who's a soldier left behind in France when the British Army evacuates from Dunkirk.
He's not a cricketer?
He's not a cricketer, no.
So he's left behind in France when the army evacuates?
Yeah.
What time is this?
This is
Dunkirk?
Yeah, 1940.
Right. Yeah, what's the premise of the story? What's he going to do?
Well, basically, the story is about how he manages to get back to Britain, and once he does that, he comes to the attention of Winston Churchill, who decides to take him as his personal agent. This is at a time when the war's going very badly, and Churchill wants a way to hit back at the enemy. So was it rather fun writing about a real character as well as your fictitious character? Yeah, it was good, and I know a little bit about the period, and I know a little bit about Churchill, so I was able to incorporate that.
Let's see if you entranced our judges, Penny.
I thought you had such a nice line in similes. I thought it was really well written, and I liked things like moving away like a disconsolate snake, or like phantom schoolboys playing tag. I thought all those things gave real feeling of being there. Perhaps, you know, if I was going to give any advice at all, I'd say perhaps I would have left the musings and flashbacks until later, because you kind of, you sort of like, you build up the suspense, and then all of a sudden those musings take it back down again. So I felt a bit like, you know, I wanted it to just carry on being pacey.
Mark?
Well, I really like this. I mean, this reminded me a lot of the kind of Alistair MacLean books and stuff that I used to read as a kid. But unlike those books, it really brought home the kind of horror of what's going on. It's not cartoonish. You know, there's a kind of Stuka raid at one point, and it's, you know, it's horrific. You know, the horror of war is really brought to life, and I think the character's got legs as well, which is important. It's a character
nice,
that you could see again.
Kathy?
I loved your prologue, and we get this meeting with Churchill, and they're talking about the hero Ted Dexter, and they're building him up to be this amazing guy. And then my only sort of quibble would be, then it takes a long time to set up Ted. I think it would be probably better, I don't know, maybe this is just me, if we got a sense of Ted on his own and we see this daring do that is going to make him this amazing agent.
OK, ladies and gentlemen, David Roy. Thank you, David. Well done. Our third author is Brian Palmer from Sussex. Well done, Brian. So, Brian, title and a bit of the synopsis, a bit of the plot.
Rogue Samaritan.
Rogue Samaritan. Yep.
Starts off with a guy who wakes up battered and bloody in a misty field, and laying nearby is a suitcase full of used banknotes. The problem for him is he's lost his memory. He doesn't know how he came by the money, and he's got to find out what happened.
So he's got to find out also if he's a goodie or a baddie.
Absolutely.
Presumably.
Yeah, that's right. He doesn't know if yeah, that's right.
I'm hooked already, Mark.
Well, this has a great premise and a really good opening. This guy wakes up and, you know, there's this money, and who is he and what's the money doing there and everything. If I had a slight concern about it, it seemed a little old-fashioned at times, in that it's clearly set now, but some of the dialogue sounded to me like it could have been, you know, the 1930s or 1940s. Although people do, you know, readers do like that kind of old-fashioned thing. Despite that, it's actually the raciest of all the entrants. You know, it's the only one that had any sex at all, which is a good thing. No, I mean, our hero is bedding a chambermaid within about 4 or 5 pages.
And at that moment, we're swiftly on. Kathy, briefly, please.
I thought it was really enjoyable, Brian. I loved the humour. You've got this great combination of humour, but I do agree with Mark about the whole area of the fact that there's an old-fashionedness. It reminded me terribly of the Agatha Christie Tommy and Tuppence, the man in the brown suit thing. And I just thought, if you change this to the 1930s, I don't know, that was just my feeling.
It did all right for Agatha Christie, didn't it? Penny?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought it was a rather jolly caper. That's what I thought it was. Maybe you could even ratchet up the humour a bit more, perhaps, and make it a kind of more of a Carl Hiaasen type of thing. You know, that sort of... Couldn't you make it...
There's a genre in here waiting to be found. Clearly, ladies and gentlemen, Brian Palmer.
Thank you.
Our final aspiring author is Phil Kurthausen from Chester. So, your title?
Everlong.
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 And the plot?
Well, the plot concerns an ex-military lawyer, Erasmus Jones, who...
Lovely name, Erasmus Jones.
And he returns from Afghanistan to work as a criminal defence lawyer in Liverpool, and it concerns the hunt for a missing man, and how that links back to a grisly murder 20 years ago on an old boat, the Everlong.
Oh, the boat's the Everlong. OK, Kathy.
I really enjoyed this. I think your dialogue, actually everyone's dialogue, was just so sharp, and that's one of the hardest things to get right. I just loved Erasmus Jones. I thought he was a fabulous hero. And I don't know, I think the way there's a wonderful line here, Frank's world shrank to one choice. He could run or die, he ran. I think you've got it. That's wonderful. I love it.
Where hooks, he ran or he ran.
Yeah.
Penny.
Yeah, I thought it was so pacey and a great sense of place and a really strong lead character. You know there's a lot going on underneath, and I do love an unresolved issue in a hero. I thought it was also intriguing. What is the question that the dead man is asked? What on earth is all that about?
Mark.
Maybe you can tell me later.
Well, a great thriller has to drag you into that narrative, you know, and this pulls you in at 100 miles an hour. There's a cracking opening. The sense of place, I thought, was terrific. You know, it's a very different sort of Liverpool. It's a very scary Liverpool. There's a fantastic scene in the Beatles Museum. Who thought Ringo Starr could be so scary? But he really is, and a great central character.
Oh,
well done.
wow. Praise indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Kurthausen. Thank you, Phil. So that's the 4 authors bidding for a place in the final tomorrow. Judges, you've read the submissions and already deliberated. You now have 20 seconds or so to make your final decision.
And it's been very hard.
Will it be Eva Hudson from Sussex with her novel, The Loyal Servant? Or could it be David Roy from Preston with his book, The Lost Man? Perhaps Brian Palmer from Sussex will reign supreme with his novel, Rogue Samaritan. Or will Phil Kurthausen from Chester take the last spot with Everlong? Judges, your time is up. Yes, Penny.
I just wanted to say that we thought these were all really good, as every time.
Yeah.
But it was really quite...
It was
difficult
tough.
and-
OK, Penny's passed me the envelope containing the winning name. Eva, David, Ryan and Phil. Only one of you can go through to the final of the People's Novelist and be one step closer to getting your book published. The person going through to tomorrow's final is... Philip Kurthausen. Please.
Oh, over the moon, yeah, made up.
Have you been writing for long?
Oh, I've been writing for about 20 years, yeah.
Well, there you are. It paid off in the end.
In the end.
Philip takes the 4th place in tomorrow's final of the People's Novelist, joining Jane, Madeline and Margaret. Tomorrow, all 4 will face our guest judge, Geoffrey Archer. My thanks to all of our budding authors and, of course, to today's judges, Kathy Kelly, Penny Smith and Mark Billiam. If you want to read any of the submissions, just go to our website, itv.com/Alan. You'll find them all there. Still ahead, Robin Cousins talks about taking inspiration from Balin Manilow for his latest ice extravaganza, and she's bringing a retro rhythm to the studio with music from the best-selling Cairo Emerald. We'll see you in a sec.